there's gyms everywhere. On every block corner there's a gym. When I started, I come from Birmingham. It's a town of probably 2 million people, so it's a pretty big town. It's the second one after London. And there was probably like 4 gyms in the whole city. And the one I trained in was just basic benches and free weights and so on. So bodybuilding was not a big thing, you know, in England and in my town where I came from. Most people didn't know what it was all about. But there was a few people that were into it. I started training, I started reading the magazines and looking at the people at competitions and everything. And it was a little bit different. I didn't start training because I wanted to get bigger or you know, I just started training and doing bodybuilding because it interested me and I wanted to do it as a sport and I wanted to compete, and that was my thing from day one. It wasn't a gradual thing. Most people start, they want to get bigger, whatever their goals are, and later on they think about competing. I actually wanted to do this and I wanted to compete. I wasn't even thinking about being a professional bodybuilder or doing Mr. Olympia. I just wanted to compete, do a competition and see how well I could do. Anyway, I went to my first competition, which was a novice competition, after a year and a half training. And I think before that, I'd been to 1 or 2 smaller shows to have a look. And I looked at the other guys in the magazines, the British champions and stuff like that. And I went along to the show and I thought, you know, I was looking to do pretty well. That was as far as it went. I went to the show and as soon as I came on stage with the class, and I remember backstage when I was getting ready, I was looking at the other guys. That guy's pretty good. Oh, this guy's pretty good. You know, they look good. Anyway, I went on stage and the reaction I got from the crowd and was amazing. When I came off stage, all the officials from the federation, the judges, are all backstage, and they're like, "Who the hell are you? Where did you come from? And why are you in this novice contest?" Well, yeah, because it's my first contest, and I don't think I'm good enough to be like in the heavyweight class, you know. And they're like, "Well, not only are you good enough to be in the heavyweight class, you're probably like the best heavyweight bodybuilder we got in the country right now." And so that was a big shock for me. And they invited me to compete on the British team for in the World Games, which was being held the following weekend. World Games was a World Championship level competition. There was various sports, bodybuilding, powerlifting, other sports that hadn't yet got into the Olympic Games. But it was a World Championship level competition. So I went from one weekend being a total novice, not even knowing how like to put the tan on properly or pose too well or anything like that. Next weekend, against my better judgment, I was actually quite reluctant to go into this competition because I didn't think I was ready. But they persuaded me to. Anyway, I went there, got 7th place there out of 13 competitors. So I finished in the middle of the pack, which I suppose was a pretty good achievement for somebody that had been training for a year and a half and been in a novice contest. But I actually hated that feeling of not winning. And I vowed to myself, I'm never going to enter a competition again unless I feel I'm good enough to win the competition. Of course, you never know what the output's going to be, but the outcome's going to be. But I always wanted to go there feeling that I had a good chance to win the competition. And that's pretty much what I did from that point on. My next competition was 1986. I did a British Championship in the heavyweight class and won that. And in the UK, it's pretty much, I think, the same as in the US. If you want to be a pro, they'll have 4 weight class winners. At least this is how it was at the time. 4 weight class winners and then 1 overall winner. And the overall winner will get his pro status. So I won the heavyweight class. Actually, I didn't win the overall competition. The guy from the light heavyweights won that. And it was very controversial, and that was probably the only time that I've experienced politics in the result. But everything happens for a reason, I believe. At that point in '86, I probably wasn't good enough to, you know, turn professional and be successful. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't win the overall. So I went back again. This time I went back in '88. I took '87 off, opened the gym in Birmingham that we still have, Temple Gym. '88 I won the overall category, the heavyweight, the overall, everything pretty good, pretty outright. So then I was eligible to be a professional. Once again, I didn't jump in and compete straight away because I wanted to make sure that I was in with a shot. So I took 18 months off from competing and just trained for my first pro show. And actually the first show I did here was Night of Champions in New York. And it was the first time I've been to the States as well. New York's pretty, if you're coming from Europe, it's a pretty intimidating place, and that's what I was brought up with when I was a kid, all the TV shows, Kojak, stuff, New York. And I remember when I got there, I was walking around just like looking at the skyscrapers and stuff, so it was a bit of a culture shock. And I didn't know what to expect from the New York crowd, being as I was coming from England and being totally unknown. And back in England, actually people were quite negative. They were like, listen, you're unknown, you don't know any of the people, any of the judges, any of the officials, you don't have any magazine coverage, you don't have any pictures in the magazine, nobody knows who you are. You're not going to do well because you need all this. That's what I was told. Like, you need all this to do well because there's politics involved and everything. And you know what? I just thought to myself, that's bullshit. If you're good enough, people are going to recognize it. So I went there, I gave it my best shot, and I got second place. And it was a full lineup, I don't know exactly, but it was probably 30 competitors. And the stage wasn't that big, so it was really crowded. I was one right on the one side in the shadows. Mohammed Benaziz, who eventually won the contest, he was on the other side in the shadows. So, every excuse that I've heard people give for not winning competitions, it was politics, I was not in the right place, they didn't see me, blah, blah, blah. I had all that, and I got second place on my first show. So I think that just pretty much dismisses all the myths. Of course, there may be politics involved sometimes. There's politics in every area of life, but it's not. It's a lot of the times I just think people are looking for an excuse for why they didn't do as well as they thought they should do. It's much better to just go back to the gym and make the changes rather than blaming other people. So I got that second place. Next year I went back, first place Night of Champions, and went to my first Mr. Olympia, where I got second to Lee Haney, who was the reigning champion. And I believe it was the first time that somebody had got a second on their debut. So I was pleased with that. Next year I went back, Lee Haney decided to retire. He had the record, 8 Mr. Olympias, and he had this guy that was like snapping on his heels, and was, I was still learning about the sport, still learning about contest preparation, still improving, where Lee Haney had brought his absolute best game to the Mr. Olympia, and he said the same to me himself. I said, well, I would love to come back and I get to compete against you again and try to beat you. And he's like, oh, no way. Too hungry and too young, and I'm out of here kind of thing. So the title was open, and I won that. That was held in Helsinki. It was great to win the contest, but still I wasn't totally satisfied because the reaction that I got, I think, because the sport was very much based in the States and the winners usually come from the States, the reaction that I got was like, Dorian won the contest, it looked great, but next year we got, Flex Wheeler, we got Kevin LeBron, who got second, who's up and coming, we got all the, maybe he's just a one-time winner and, next year it's going to be somebody else. That didn't happen. 93 was the second time I took the title, and it was a huge improvement from 92 to 93. Some of you have probably seen the black and white pictures, the comparison that they ran in Flex magazine, which was pretty dramatic. I actually competed about 18 pounds heavier from one year to another, and as probably as a professional bodybuilder, to make that change is unheard of. So the most popular question I got asked always, of course, was what was the magic secret drug that I was using, or how much of it was you using, and there was no change in whatever I was using to get ready for the contest in 92 to 93. The big change was, because I'm very analytical about everything I do, getting ready for a contest, I'll write everything down. I would take pictures every week from 10 weeks out, coming into the contest. I have body weight done, I do body fat measurements, everything coming into the contest. And I look back at 92, and I look back like 4 or 5 weeks out, I was in contest shape. I was shredded. And I knew Haney wasn't going to be there, so the guys I were competing against would be Lita Brada, Sean Ray, Vince Taylor, Kevin LeBron. I didn't actually know about too much because he was pretty new, just one-round champion. So the guys I was competing against were also smaller than me. So I felt, you know, size was not an issue. I just wanted to come in super shredded, and I was. But what I noticed was the last 4 or 5 weeks, I was losing weight, I was coming down, but I was already, my body fat was already very low 4 or 5 weeks out. So what was I losing? I was just losing muscle mass. That's what I realized. So I thought, okay, next year I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to eliminate that. So 93, I had a tremendous year of training. I probably put on 7 or 8 pounds of solid muscle, which anyway was an amazing gain at that point. But then there was another 10 pounds that I simply didn't sacrifice those last 4 or 5 weeks. I just backed off. Actually started my diet a little later out. In the last few weeks I had the confidence to, you know, when my weight was coming down and I felt I was in condition, back off a little bit, bring the calories up a little bit, bring the cardio back down. If you have no body fat to lose, why are you doing cardio? It's only there as a tool to lose body fat. So that's the story on 93 that a lot of people always ask me, and that's the answer to that. And then, you know, it's pretty much my whole life revolved around training and striving to improve for the Mr. Olympia. Had a couple of injuries on the way. 94, I tore my bicep 6 weeks out, and yes, definitely the thought of totally just saying, let's give it up and there's no way I'm going to compete with a torn bicep. That thought went through my head all the time. But I didn't want to give up. I just wanted to keep going, keep dieting, keep doing whatever I could do, I would do for the contest and see if I could get into shape and make the decision as I got nearer the contest whether I could compete and defend the title. So 94 I did that. I wasn't in my best shape, but I won the contest in obviously less than ideal circumstances. 95, 96 were good years for me. Everything went pretty well. 97, I had another injury. This time was 3 weeks before the contest. It was even closer, where I had a tricep tendon tear. And I wasn't training super heavy or anything like that. I had problems with the tricep tendon all year round, where it was inflamed. And because of the kind of mindset I had, got me to be from a small hole in the wall backstreet gym in Birmingham with no backing, with no support, to be Mr. Olympia. That driven mindset got me there, but sometimes that mindset could also be detrimental in that I wouldn't take time off, I wouldn't rest enough to let the injuries heal, things like that. I had a meeting with a therapist probably 5 or 6 weeks out from the Olympia about the pain I was having and the problems and everything, and he suggested having a cortisone injection. And the guy was a sports doctor, but in England we have very few strength-related sports. Like in the States you've got a lot. When you go to school in the States you've got weights there because you've got football, baseball, basketball, wrestling, all that stuff. So in your schools you have weights, so you're introduced to weight training, and you know, it's very popular over here. But in England, pretty much all we've got is soccer. So the surgeons were not even, and the doctors are not even, you know, they're not used to treating strength athletes or the injuries that they got. So he said, I can give you a cortisone injection, that's going to take the inflammation down, and just train a little lighter, going ready for the contest. You know, I'm used to incline benching 450, so what's a little lighter? 400's a little lighter for me, you know, so I'll back up, you know. But what cortisone does, it takes the inflammation down from the injury, but it also, it weakens the tissue. So we've got a tissue here that's already damaged, already weakened, and it's getting weaker. And so I was doing some tricep extensions 3 weeks out, not particularly heavy, and bam, tricep tendon went, and I knew it went. It was like the worst pain I experienced in my life. It only lasted 2 or 3 seconds, because after that I didn't feel anything. But I knew it was a major injury, I knew it was a major tear. And again, I could have just canned it then and said there's no way I can compete. But it was 3 weeks out, and I was always pretty much in shape 3 or 4 weeks out anyway. So I was in shape. It was just a matter, can I hold that without training, basically, because with a torn tendon, you can't train. So all I did last 3 weeks was do my cardio, stay on the diet, do a little posing. Even posing, even during the contest, I was very cautious about hitting poses in case I damaged it further. So that's the last year. I got through that and won the title. After that, I had the surgery to reattach the tendon and repair it, which was successful to a degree, but afterwards I realized the mechanics had changed. You know, the strength was weaker, and if you're going to compete in Mr. Olympia with the best in the world, you've got to be able to train, you know, 100% and not compromise. So I made the decision to retire then and not to compete, but I've remained involved in the sport, and I've always trained, although my goals now are obviously different. Now I just want to stay lean, I want to stay healthy, have good cardio, and I'm not interested in walking around like 300 pounds, but I'm still like 250 or 255, something like that. Current project I'm working on is, as I said, is the nutrition company, which will be launching in about 3 or 4 weeks. We'll be selling through GNC. So that's enough about me, up to date. Pretty much up to you guys. I'll open the floor to what you want to talk about. I'll do my best to answer your questions. You can ask me anything you want, pretty much.